Okay, hi everybody. First time for me in Rock Club, first time for me in a Ruby conference. The worrying thing for me is just a little question that I'd like to ask you because I think I'm one of the guys with the whitest beard. So is anybody else here more than 40? Oh, one. Okay. More than 44? Oh, okay. So, so this makes me the wisest person in the room, I guess. Hopefully. So I try still to dress like a young one, but doesn't really work. Anyway, I already spoke too much about me, and then it's me. And well, I don't know exactly why I'm here because, yeah, I do some programming in Ruby. I used to be a developer. I'm mostly working in domain-driven design community, but not only. The other thing that I do is agile coach, things like this. I've been doing a lot of facilitator. Facilitator now, it's turning into something like, oh, we get a bunch of people really angry about the topics. Can you please go into that room and tame them? Okay, just get a whip, put some things, make some peace out of this chaos. And this is became my background, even if I just wanted to code. What else? Well, this is probably the big reason why I'm here. Eventstorming, the thing that I'm going to try to explain to you. The other thing I do, I'm a consultant. I'm getting into lean consulting too. So it's not only, I started from the code and I started trying to move into different perspective. And the last thing I did was I started my own company some years ago. Now we are a little group of people working. And this changed things a lot because when I started there, I was the guy paid to write code. And now I'm getting to the other side. I'm the person paying to have some code written. So it just put me on the other side of the fence. Well, at the end, I'm still writing my own code mostly, but I'm not getting paid for my code, except for me, so nothing. Anyway, let's start from one perspective, this one. Which is the last you might want to expect, but it might be interesting. So being an entrepreneur, having a small company, and try to be lean, what was the most important thing that I smashed my face against is this little thing called theory of constraints. Does anybody know about this one? Well, somebody. Well, the fact is, you probably already know with a different names what you do when you do performance tuning, profiling with your application. Well, the guy writing about this is called Eliyahu Goldratt, and the book introducing to the topic is called The Goal. It's pretty famous, especially in the United States, and it's kind of groundbreaking. It's also at the heart of something that you might know a little more, which is the Kanban software development process from David J. Anderson. I'm not going to dig that much into this one. I'm going to try to find a simpler explanation, which is in every complex system, and maybe you remember this, the incredible machine, it's just telling that in every really big system, there is one thing which is constraining the throughput of the whole system, which is, yeah, the bottleneck. The thing which is making things go slow, making things not going in the right direction. Let's make a concrete example. You have a pizza restaurant. If your oven capacity is just for pizza, it doesn't make any sense to invite more and more people. If you call more and more people to your restaurant, they are just going to be waiting more and more for the pizza. They're going to send bad tweets about your restaurant, and your business is going to crap. So, which is mostly the same thing as I say, performance tuning. You find the spot where you're optimizing your software, and if you're working on the other spot, you're basically wasting your time doing nothing. Or you can also do harm if you try to optimize the wrong thing. So these are the basic rules. Find your bottleneck, try to improve the bottleneck, and finally the bottleneck moves to another place, and start improving the other one. End of the theoretical explanation. The really important thing for me was this one. If we improve the bottleneck, we improve the whole system. If we improve somewhere else, we're just doing things. Why is this important? Well, this is important for me as a developer. I want to find it. That's exactly what I want to improve my company. As a lean consultant, I help my customer to find the bottleneck. But as a developer, should I care about it? The answer is yes. For a good reason, which is basically the market and customers on non-bottleneck activities would only try to reduce cost. And customers working in bottleneck activities would have some pretty good interest in improving the performances on that area, because that would make their business better, which also means that our working condition might be a lot different. If I'm working on a non-bottleneck activity with a customer that just want to reduce cost, I guess you know where we're going to end up. That's more or less what we might expect. Getting in place where all push, release, deadline, adding stuff, and just, oh, one day we're going to outsource everything to a cheaper country. And no, I don't want to get there. And that's the reason why I care also as a developer about what the customer is asking me. Because if the customer is asking me to do a stupid thing, I'm not going to see any good result on the bottom line. If the customer is asking me to do the right thing, oh, we're going to start a better collaboration. But that's not easy. Problem number one, customers might not know about the bottleneck. I know quite a few customers that say, like, yeah, we have problems. Well, that's a very easy statement to make. And the really important thing, what is the most important problem? Oh, we have tons of them. No, because if I choose the wrong one, I'm going to put a lot of effort with no visible result, and I don't want to work in that way. The other thing might be this one. They might know about the wrong bottleneck, they might know about their most important problem, but they're not likely to tell it to you, little developer. What are you asking for? Just, no, this is my little business secret, or maybe dirty secret, and no, I'm not sharing it to you, because maybe you're going to ask more money for this, so you might get into this a different type of customer. And the question for us is just how can we do the right thing? Well, this type of thinking is a lot rooted in a specific type of commercial enterprise software, but it's not that different if you're working in a startup. In the startup, you have to know about what is your bottleneck. It might be little conversion, not enough customers, and you're continuously improving. If you are into the startup thing, like Lean Startup, Eric Ries, Ash Maria thing, it's just a continuous way to make experiment to understand what is the next thing that you have to improve. End of the first digression. Topic number 2. I will try to connect them more and more. Domain-driven design. And I'll try, and I have to say a big thank you to the people that were sharing a hamburger with me yesterday evening, because the talk was so good that I said, like, I need to reshape completely my presentation. So this is my this morning work. And let's talk about domain-driven design. Who knows here about domain-driven design? Yeah, good minority. About 28.5% looks like. And what people think normally about domain-driven design is something like this. Domain-driven design is an architectural approach. Is it more or less what people think about? And that's my reaction normally. And the funny thing is just that this was also the reaction of some really famous people, which I'm not going to tell, but it's very rooted in the community. I would say it's 95% of the people in the domain-driven design community, or maybe people talking about domain-driven design outside of the community are thinking like this. Well, answer number 1, not your fault. We did a pretty bad job of messing things up from the beginning. And but that's what people think. Actually, it's not only that, it's worse than this. Domain-driven design is not only an architectural approach, but is exactly this one. It's an architectural approach that leads to over-engineered solution. So it's too expensive for me, delivers not so much value, and here I'm exactly in the community that was proving the opposite. Oh, you can do a lot of stuff faster with Ruby on Rails, so why? And you had a point. But there is a reason why. Still, there is a lot of value in domain-driven design in selected places. It's pretty easy to say exactly the typical sentence like, oh, did it take so much to do all of this over-engineered stuff? Yes, if you look just at the end of the code, that's exactly what you may think. But I need to make an example. But there is a little bit of a spoiler alert here. have you seen the movie The Sixth Sense? If you haven't seen that, please close your ears because I'm gonna tell you that Bruce Willis is dead. And if you knew that Bruce Willis was dead from the start, I could save your money from the ticket. There was absolutely no value in staying in the movie or sitting in your sofa watching the whole movie because, yeah, well, did it take you so much to understand that he was dead? What's the point? Why did it take you so much to get there? Some DDD philosopher might tell you, well, in fact, it's a journey, not a destination. Well, that's a pretty good answer. I liked it. It's just the thing that you don't see, but look in the source code. This is also the reason why in the DDD community, when people is asking, oh, can you show me the code? Yes, but the code is not the answer. It's just like spoiling, telling the end of the movie. But if you just see the end of the movie, then you lose. It's not about the pleasure of coding. It's just about we didn't know we were going there, and we needed something to get there. But the thing that, like the journey, not the destination, might point into the direction of, yeah, it's about the pleasure of slowly discovering. Well, this is close to pornography. It's not exactly what we were talking about. But even the fact that it's a journey, not a destination, I don't totally buy it. Because people are every day having journeys like this. So if I say to a normal commuter in an Italian train, hey guys, hey, it's about the journey, not the destination. No, please bring me to the damn destination as soon as possible. I hate this journey. And the real answer is, well, not all journeys are equal. Well, there are some journeys worth taking, and some other journeys are not. I don't know if, does anybody ever saw a presentation of mine about pigs, hams, and things like this? Good. Oh, well, only one. Okay, good. Well, I'm not going to use hams this time, but the thing is, a journey worth taking is what, in the domain-driven design community, is what we call the core domain. And there's a little link between the core domain is the area where exploration is worth the price and the time and the effort, which should start to ring a bell about what we said just before, because it might be for a large company that you have a lot of non-bottleneck areas, and one area, if you just can improve that, whoa, you double revenues. That's exactly what this exploration might be worth. Sometimes you know the area is, sometimes you don't. But if you are in a competitive market, you have to make experiment. Let's make things a little bit clearer. Domain-driven design is not an architecture. Definitely is not. It's a process, an approach to software development that needs continuous evolution. It's not for writing software faster. That's not what domain-driven design is. But it's not that we like to write software slowly. That's not the point. The point is it was created for rewriting software frequently, which leads to another dumber definition of domain-driven design. That might be our hypothesis. It's an approach to software development for guys that can get it right the first time. So it's for dumb developers, basically. Now, that's not the point. The point is, if the problem is simple, you can get it right the first time. If you know that Bruce Willis was dead, oh, okay, so let's just make a model that leads us to Bruce Willis that was dead from the very first moment. But if the model, the underlying domain, is so complex that we can't learn it all in one shot, or if the domain is so competitive that keeps moving and reshaping, well, then you need a model that supports continuous rewriting, supports changing, plastic evolution only in selected areas, but you cannot make it right at first attempt. It's not about the developers being dumb. It's about, in some areas, you have a continuous stream of change requests because it matters in that area. In 2004, there was basically only one option for achieving this result. Because if you continuously refactor, if you continuously evolve your software, you know that it's going to collapse. Well, sometimes you don't even refactor, you just add, and then plof, that That more or less the sound. Sometimes the sound is more or less like, what the, you know that. Not like bluff. But the point was, in 2004, when the Blue Book came out, there was no other option than what you saw in the Blue Book, if you had a look, where entities, value objects, aggregates, factories, and services. That was a clean way to categorize the only available architecture at that time that could support a domain with frequent and continuous rewriting. If you were using those approaches in an area where you didn't have to rewrite, oh, well, you're just making code look like elegant. And you don't know how much I hate the word elegant when it comes to software. Because if you say the word software elegant, when your boss is passing, like, I don't pay you to be a fashion leader. It's just, I pay you to deliver value. And elegant code doesn't sound like value to me. So the thing is, given this, which is the real true requirement of domain-driven design, DDD is not an architecture, it just needs one really badly. There was only one available, now we have a few more. So this is just another little step of my pile. Next topic, trying to connect the dots. So we have an area which is worth exploring, where most of the value is to help make our customer be satisfied by the software. The customer might know it and keep it secret, might share it, or might not even know about it. But we have another problem in this area. It just goes as a developers. In domain-driven design, we try to explore this a lot more with the topic of customer collaboration, creative collaboration. So both Agile and domain-driven design try to, we need to be better, find a better collaboration with the domain expert, but still, this is a complex topic. So how do we collect requirements in a complex environment? Normally corporate. How many of you are working for a corporate environment customer? Yeah, not so many. So you're lucky. Okay, it's pretty bad situation sometimes. How do you collect requirements in those scenarios? I've been working in banks, insurance companies, and large companies all over. The pattern is more or less the same. Requirements gathering follows what has been highlighted in another great movie, The Usual Suspect. You take all the people you need to learn something from and just ask questions. So you schedule a meeting with suspect number 1 and just collect the requirements. So you schedule another meeting with person number 2, you collect your requirements. So while you schedule another meeting with this guy, which is not so easily available, but you try to find a slot, you pile up your requirements, and this takes time. But then you find you are in your room looking at the requirements and feeling like they are talking about something, and everybody's describing it in a different way. So you're expecting the problem to look like a Kaiser Soze, but you still can't figure out who this guy is, where the problem is. And then you get to this Kobayashi moment where, which is way too late. And the typical problem is when you start feeling like, why don't those people agree on something? And the real answer is they won't. It's even worse. It's pretty stupid to try to have them agree on something because they won't agree. There was a pretty good thing from Uncle Bob in his book. It said an ambiguous specification. It's very likely to be a trade-off found with a conflict between stakeholders solved at the word level. We found a term that was so ambiguous that would make 2 people happy, and we put it in the specification. Well, I guess the luck of the developers finding an ambiguous term in the specification that was hiding a time bomb. Perfect job, guys. And that's exactly where I don't want to be. So this is where I came with the Eventstorming solution. Why Eventstorming didn't start in this way. It started as a little trick, but then we found out that it really worked in this case. So that's a solution for us. Kind of trivial. put all the key stakeholders in the same room and sketch a model together. Sounds like trivial. Well, it's not genius. It's just like, why should I wait to talk with people? But there are a couple of tricks that make this thing different from the other approaches. So we want to explore the domain. And when I say put all the people in the same room, I say like same room. When I say same room, normally most of the people say like, okay, let's sit around the table. No, this is not the way you model. If you sit around the table, you already lost the battle. What are they talking about? Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, I know even the result. That's an Italian discussion about probably, trade unions, government, nothing get out. Nothing good can get out from this room for so many reasons. I'm not going to talk about all of the reasons, but it can't happen. But let's find another way to sketch a model collaboratively. Looks more like this one. We need a lot more space, and not people facing each other, but people collaborating about the model. This was an educational workshop that we held together with Matthias Verreis in Amsterdam. When we do it in the business way, is even more interactive. It's normally exhausting. After 2 hours, the people start saying like, "Oh, please, let's stop. Let's have a break because we just consume too much energy." So the thing is, we break some assumption and try and manage to make it work by putting all the people in the same room. Let's find what we broke. We started from sequential gathering, and then we decided to put all the people in the same room, trying to foster chaotic conversation. We already gained 3-4 weeks in this way just by scheduling. And we want to have everybody contributing to the thing. And maybe the facilitator trick number 1 is this one. That if you put people in the same room and ask them, can you please start writing domain events on orange stickies, the pattern you get is just exactly what you have when you have workers on the street. You have old people looking at the only one which is working and telling what to do. So the throughput of the meeting normally gets to 1 person writing and 12 person telling him what to do. No, you break this one, you distribute markers to everybody, and have the people get something like factor of 12 faster creation. Then, of course, you might have a look to what the other people are doing, getting the overlaps. But the thing is, people tend to think sequentially, and it's so stupid. And if you create the environment for a chaotic exploration of the model, just works way better. Some more tricks. It just, make everything available to everybody. Just try to be the first person making a mistake. Make it play it safe for everybody. It normally takes 2-3 minutes to get the meeting at full speed. The result normally is this one. People can't stop modeling unless they are exhausted. They create something like a very complex model in, let's say, a couple of hours. After this, they normally get exhausted. And the funny thing that I discovered, I just didn't know about it. I started studying it afterwards because I wanted to know why this was working so well. It's just we basically were leveraging some of the things that we already have in our brain, especially as developers. I used to be a real developer, so I know how our brain works. And our brain is exactly the thing like, there's a really important problem that I could solve by talking with people and try to figure out the solution. But there's another problem that I have right here that I can solve by just looking and do something without talking with anybody. So I think this is way more interesting. And this is us. We want to solve the puzzle. We want to beat the score at the video game. And we are smart guys, but we try to avoid the conversation. But the other thing that we discovered along the way was actually, there was a reason why in many projects people starting to rewrite software or to change technology, and there was no reason. the real reason people started to admit was, well, basically we were bored. Half of the technology evolution is just because people get bored with the old one. And this is just from the statistics and surveys. And well, you've been changing, I've been talking about what's the next framework. Yeah, boredom is a good reason to change. And it is a good reason to change. Because, yeah, the thing that happened with Eventstorming is just we basically managed to transform the business problem into a non-boring problem. It was, well, that's complicated enough to capture my attention. Normally, developers start asking business questions, the question that they normally don't ask. Well, now I see the business problem. Well, it's less stupid than I thought. Except for invoicing. Invoicing is still the stupid. Nobody likes to dig into the invoicing area. And but what you can see is just you might put different people in the same room, paper roll and stickies, and some amount of time, and we get a pretty good model. Something more happens. It's not about being faster. I gave you an example for the planning. Looks like being thinking linearly. No, something different happens. It's just we put the people in the same room. We have them create a model with an unlimited modeling surface. And the thing is, people start to learn. During the feedback I had from companies, it's just we learned a lot about our own domain. That was not the starting point. The starting point was we are here to ask you some questions because you know your stuff and I don't know, and I need to understand it. The outcome is normally, well, now we know something more about ourselves. Okay, good. And we knew a lot more too. We discover a lot. We discover things that were swept under the carpet. We discovered problems that some companies had and they didn't know about. A company changed their own business process during the meeting because, oh, is this what we're doing? This is so stupid. Let's change it. They basically didn't know. And so this is more or less what you get from the first round of the exploration. We still haven't been talking about what these orange stickies are. But I need to explain one more thing, which is the other trick is this one, the unlimited modeling space. There's something that is really stupid. We normally like to model something. I mean, this, for example, this blackboard is kind of not the right surface to do some modeling. One little reason, well, if you write with a chalk, it takes so much space to have a readable font. Doesn't really work. But the thing that happened in our brain is more nasty because given the amount of space that we have, we try to reject problems which are bigger than the surface that we have for modeling. So if I have a problem that I can model with 6, 7 classes, okay, let's go to the whiteboard. If I have a problem that I could model with 50 classes, okay, let's just talk about it. But if we talk about it, we don't get it. So every company or organization is flooded by problems that involve more than 3, 4 classes, which are not solved because people lost the ability to see it. And my approach is just, no, I have a bigger problem, I need a bigger surface. This is my best friend. You can buy well, it might be a plotter paper roll, or even cheaper because it fits in the backpack. It's something that you can buy in the kit department of IKEA. It's just really, really cheap and goes there, and you can set up a meeting without the constraint of the customer room. Once you see it, it's something totally different. The last thing of the approach, and this is something that led to some other findings, was just this comes from Julius Caesar. And then a lot of people started to use the same sentence for many different reasons, which is actually bullshit, because his idea was about maintaining the status quo in France, which is under his dominion. So keep the different tribes separated, so that they could not ally against him. But the point is, everybody's doing. Is divide et impera, so divide first, conquer later. No, I do the opposite thing. I want to see the whole mess. And then let's start to see how the mess looks like. The bad thing is just every single company tried to divide first and then but without seeing the big picture. So this makes a difference. Use all the space, see how it looks like, and then make some ordering later. The real problem is this one. You don't know how big the problem is before exploring. Okay. There are many approaches getting into this area. Goiko has been writing a lot of interesting stuff about impact mapping. It's just like getting at the source of the requirement, not just accepting. Jeff Patton just wrote a book about it, and a lot of things from the lean area. And the specific thing about us, we just have these little rules. All key stakeholders in the same room, unlimited modeling surface, and something which is more relevant for us, domain events. Well, it has been a little bit of a discussion before, talking about event sourcing and why this is important. Well, one thing that wasn't mentioned is just you've been talking about events, now I'm talking about domain events. It's just the button clicked is not an event which is relevant for the business. In this case, it is. And why is this important? Because it brings clarity to the discussion. It's important for me in domain-driven design as a developer, but also for many other reasons. Why domain event? Item purchased, invoice sent, invoice paid, yeah, the boring area. But this is telling people, yeah, can you make a model organizing things in a sequence? You can make something really complex, and it's relatively straightforward, not so much complexity. Put them on a timeline, in a sequence, and people can work in parallel. I know my area, I know my own area, and there might be something overlapping. Well, a good thing, you see it in action. And the mass emerges. One of the funny things that emerged was people were adding complexity because so the other guys adding complexity. So it was like envy. Oh, so you're telling that your domain is more complex than mine. Why do longer hours? So here is all of my complexity. And I saw all the model emerging without doing nothing. Loved it. Another little trick was with this one. People thinking in a narrative, and that's another thing I normally do. We have a timeline. I move and tell a story, maybe by even touching the relevant events. So then I get to the end, and I say, like, what can we do with this event? Like, what has to happen for this event in order to make this one happen? What was the other events that need to happen before? And normally people forget a lot of stuff. It's just like, it's something that I got from Lie to Me. You cannot lie if you tell what you did last night backwards. And we discovered something like 40% complexity by doing this thing backwards. Trick number 3, 4, I don't know, it's this one. That's another reason why I still like calling myself a developer, and I still like you developers, even if you're not, I don't know all of you. But the thing is, every time we run this experiment, developers forget the money. It's great to hang around with you. It's great to have beers together. The funny thing is just that you are the most amazing people to create charity organization, non-profit organization. And because you always forget the money and the invoicing part. And but the funny thing is just, okay, looks like it's done. Yeah. Where are we making money? Oh, yeah, we forgot. Little thing. Of course, there are business people in the room that will try to solve the problem. But sometimes we just run the workshop only with developers, and we add the money at the end. Not at the beginning, because there is so much value in ignoring the money at first attempt, so it was the price. Well, that's probably boring, but yeah. That's the other thing that I'm using. Just put all the people in the same room, and people are doing it wrong. But then I have this superpower. Mr. Darwin just realized that humans are the most efficient devices for spotting somebody else's mistakes. This is in the Bible too. It just you don't care about what you just did. Oh, but this one is crap, by the way. And just, yeah, let's use that. Put everybody in the same room. Automatic error checking, peer-to-peer. I don't do anything. People are just correcting each other, and I get a good model out of it. Let's use that. The other thing I see is this one, language. I listen to the language, look at the interaction, and I see the body language. We coined the term ubiquitous body language because if somebody says this is a bounded context. This is my area. I'm not going to let anybody touch this. If somebody says this, it's telling, I am not a domain expert. I have no clue what you're talking about. Maybe this. I am the wrong person here. So you can smell it, and you can even say, well, I don't want to work with this guy. If I'm doing a really important project with this person, it might be a problem. We ended up discovering that that's the same concept that comes from the growing object-oriented software guided by textbook, the working skeleton, with this little difference. It's not about the code breaking. It's not about the system that you have to touch before. It's about the people. I put all the people in the same room because I want to discover as soon as possible who's going to be the one that is going to put the project in jeopardy. Because not all the stakeholders are going to love the project. Not all the stakeholders are going to be collaborative. I want to know about this stuff as soon as possible. Yep. And I want to see the interaction because here is the most valuable part, not in the requirements. The requirements don't capture the friction, the hostility, and all the things. I'm going to skip this part, I guess. OK, now we have a big model of the whole thing. And we had the funny workshop for this. What do we have at the end? The great thing for this one is that we have exactly that bottleneck emerge at the end. Because people are telling, oh, we have a problem. If you spot it, you have people that cannot just keep their mouth shut. And this is exactly when the fun starts, because we can go to the roller coaster and start doing the right thing. As domain-driven designers, developers, lean consultant, entrepreneur, and I just realized that this looked like something really, really worrisome. But anyway, and the other question, that's a question more from the DDD community, can we also do it right? Domain-driven design people and developers are always focused on this one. They don't care about doing the right thing. They want to be sure that their code looks perfect. And yes, the answer is in those areas, that's exactly where you can do something really good, even with a better speed of implementation and discovery. So that's exactly where you can go and apply some of these techniques. So in the first round, we normally talk with the business people and try to understand pain point and problems and everything which is wrong with the actual system. That's great. We try to see the things and we try to discover, oh, that I have a font problem. But we see the flow and we look at the pain. And show me the pain. This is where we can try to improve. And that's a really messy. Best advice I can tell you about this area, coming from Secrets of Consulting, even if you are a good problem solver, if you see, oh, why don't we do this instead? Follow this one. Let them pretend they had a good idea. Don't be the smart ass. Why don't you do that in front of your CEO? Not exactly something they will love you. And but the other thing, do something. Do it quickly. Just when you see the problem, if it's on the bottleneck, you're losing money right now. Be quick. I need to go faster. Sorry for this. The other thing that happened is how much the people were learning. And we started to use this also in many companies. Well, in our company and then friends' company too. I mean, people that tried it, oh, why? Wow, good idea. So every time we had a new hire in the company, we just we did the induction in this way. Let's do Eventstorming again. Let's learn how the company is working, and building a model together from scratch was the best way for learning. The other thing was, okay, now we have the model, and why don't we try something different? Well, here we could change this. We could just change the way we are connecting things. Once we see the whole thing, it's getting really, really easy to play with it. And this is actually not bad. But then I would like to talk about what happens this one, because the business experiment are okay is not the reason why you're here. The reason, which is really interesting for us Eventstorming is just the model we get out from the workshop is really, really close to implementation. And if you have been exploring something about the domain-driven design, there's something like the holy grail, which is what is the definition of an aggregate? Because everybody think an aggregate is something different. My aggregates are bigger than yours or smaller. And in the years, there has been 4 or 5 different reference implementation and definition for aggregates. Unit of consistency, then you get to the example, and you need to have an entity, maybe another entity, including value objects. You cannot touch another aggregate, boring stuff. We only needed this one. An aggregate is something that produces some domain event and gets a command. Even more simple is a yellow thing between the blue and the orange one. So let's zoom on it. We have blue stickies, which are commands like add participant to a workshop or remove participant. And so what happens here, we just triggered some domain events, which are the thing the business is interested. We have a participant added or a participant removed, and another event like maximum capacity reached. That's everything we need to know. What is the thing that is managed at the center of this one, this workshop? Oh, we need to know the maximum capacity. Okay, and the current capacity. That's it. We don't need so much stuff. So it turns out that this exploration, with some notation tricks, maps into a potential, not exactly an architecture, something more. What I call the picture that explains everything. Conceptual CQRS. A user makes a decision and triggers a command. The decision is based upon real-world experience, I feel hungry, and what I see, the read model. Oh, they sell pizza here. And of course, you need the image of the pizza, you need the price, you need the ingredients. But what happens here, it's just we have some other decision taken in the system, but big difference, this model here and this model here are not the same. Because here, the user might be taking a decision upon the picture of the pizza, which is something that we have to carry around in our code, but this system is not going to make any decision based on customer name, customer surname, pizza image. That's what we don't do. So let's consider it a generic customer: name, surname, address, picture, email, ID, status. The only thing in a given portion of the system we are caring about might be if it is a status. So if the customer is Barack Obama, the system is going to ignore that. But the user, oh, whoa, Barack Obama just ordered the pizza. That's a read model for a real user of the system. System would not care. Good consequence. There is no such thing as a model. And we get exactly this. We ended up working a lot, and I was guilty of the same sin, thinking like, yes, that's a model. We have the object model with more behavior that maps to the data model, but they are just two different views of the same thing. No, wrong. I use that architecture, which is the one that I mentioned. Somebody already know this. And we just have a shared database. That's a model, more application working on it. And well, you can make active record fit in here. And somebody before mentioned sharing a model. I don't normally share a model with anybody, except in a read model, read-only fashion. But that's a bad thing. That's a big thing. Because it's totally opened my brain. A read model is different from the write model, from the execution model. We have two families of actors making different decisions. Users make decisions based on the read model. I need to know name and surname. I need to see pictures. Systems does not. And so this gets to CQRS. But the thing is, everybody thought about CQRS like an architecture, and don't, because as an architecture enforces some performance possibility. No, it's not about it. It's not only about it. Speed is great. Speed is a great achievement. The thing that I really liked about this type of architecture was the fact that I was able to understand exactly where the problem was. Because if we don't start understanding this right from the start, you end up in a situation like this one. Okay, just put all the ingredients together, and after you mix the ingredients, yeah, can you please separate them? That's what, yeah, data warehouse consultants are suggesting you to do. And I'm guessing I'm running out of time, and I thought I was able to squeeze things a lot. Let's get to the final thing. The thing that changes is just you might have 2, 3 different types of bottlenecks. Sometimes they are just user decision. You try to make something better. It's what you do when you try to improve sales. Sometimes you have to improve internal decision, make people work more wisely, and you have to improve the quality of the information available to those people. Or you have to improve the amount of information that passes, and you have to get like improving processes and working, shifting from manual intervention to processes, and creating automation in this way. The funny thing about this, when you explore this model, this is what we do with developers to developers, Eventstorming, so we get more precise about the notation. Is this over-engineered? Well, it might look like, but still it's just stickies. We don't have to turn every single sticky into code, but we can talk a lot about the model, making the combination, and this is way more interesting and faster than just sketching a UML diagram on some case tools. That might be the official overall notation, but please do me a favor, don't use the whole notation from scratch. This is just going to kill the whole meeting, because yes, developers are pretty good in grasping all the notation, but you don't want to drive away the attention from all the other people. Yeah, I'm kind of out of time. I mentioned the green bar in the title, and this is how I turn it into code. I like to have the discussion by using Cucumber, which is how many of you are using BDD? And well, only a few, even if it's Ruby. Huh, that's eyebrows, yeah. And this is how you connect it. I normally try to find a cheap way to connect it at the application layer, but it's basically you create a command from the data you put. Of course, you would like to have some validation at the given point and call the application layer. Checking a domain event, you might be expecting on some bus, well, this is happened because it's telling semantically, okay, that was the intention, this is what happened. You might decide whether to go for event sourcing or just having it as a way of communicating with the external system. Internals of the aggregates are a different choice, but the exploration of what happens is just a lot more business-wise. And of course, the other tricky thing is just if you had the read model and you have to translate it, you normally have a class, a projection, listening to some event and then translating into a different read model. And this happens asynchronously. So you have to separate the check from write model persistence to the read model persistence. But that's normally the trick. Wrapping it up. Getting to the last slide. Yeah, doing the right thing matters because it just changes totally the perspective between the us as developers and our customer. Doing it right, yeah, good architecture matters too. Well, we can talk, and we're gonna have a panel tomorrow, and I'm gonna be around for the whole day. So. Well, feel free to ask me something also about how to get into the implementation. But the thing that I found more and more important was the way to discover what the real problem is and the way to enforce the collaboration right from the start. Because if you go to the real value as soon as possible, then just go for it. And yeah, this is the thing that really matters. What you get at the end Normally, you have a lot of conflict resolution before this in the red area, in the overlapping control zone of your participant. You can finally see the big picture, but the great thing is this one. You have conversation that happens during the workshop. The conversation are more meaningful, and you start doing something which is better than expectation. End of it. You can find something on my blog. We have an Eventstormers community on Google+, because it's better suited for images. And then if you want to open that book or maybe just talk with me, just feel free. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Alberto.